my name is Ville. I'm the front, closest to the people on stage. I'm in the center. I play the acoustic guitar and sing a bit for a band called Him from Helsinki, Finland.
Yeah, and I'm Mige. I play the bass guitar and I'm front right side.
Stage right.
Stage right.
Normally I would never really start off with this question because I do think it's a bit crap. But I think there's a wee bit of significance in the fact that you guys have not really performed in Glasgow for like such a long time.
Yeah, it's been ages, and we've always usually when we have toured the UK, we have visited Glasgow. Been to Edinburgh only once, right? Yes. And that was many years ago. We haven't toured that much, to be honest with you. We had an album that came out 2010 called Screamworks. With which we toured America fairly extensively, and then did festivals in Europe. But and I think we played Download then. But we, for one reason or the other, we just didn't tour more, and we started concentrating on the new album. And then that took an ages. It took a long time for us to finish it. Had a lot of trouble with it. Our drummer having a hard time with his hands and stuff. They found some nerve damage or some sort of injury and had to take like 8 months off, and that's the reason we haven't really been that active, let's say, in the Facebook realm. But now we're here, so.
It's hopefully going to be an awesome show for you guys as well. Absolutely. But you guys are obviously here for your new album, which is Tears and Tape. Got released earlier on this year as well too. I think one of the best ways to sum it up was I think what you guys were saying about like All Lips Go Blue single, which by the way is fantastic. So yeah, it's a fantastic song. But I was kind of hearing that you guys were kind of saying that it's kind of a good way of like summing up the rest of the album. Basically, could be based on that single and whatnot. And I was kind of wondering if you could describe that for us, like, and how that can.
I think you get a good idea of what the album and what the whole band at the moment is about. It's got that crunchy riff thingy, which is kind of our hats off to Cathedral, and Sabbath, obviously, and then the vocals and the verses are a wee bit melancholy and melodic. This is the stuff we do. It's pretty much what we've done. It's very identifiably Him, I guess, which is kind of a cool thing. So it's got bits and bobs of everything we've done in the past, and hopefully something new on top, as the icing on the cake. So it's got the big riffs, but coming together with the more sentimental side. We tried to do that, so more or less all the tracks would have both the sides, right? As opposed to some of the albums in the past, they had like let's say a hard rocking number, let's say Very Love I Love, and then you'd have like Funeral of Hearts, which is a bit more pretty number. And this time around, we tried to have both the extremes come together in each and every song, more or less. I'm not sure if we made it really happen. We're too close to the album, I guess, but remains to be seen.
Yeah, remains to be seen. Anything you want to add on top of that?
No, you said it, bro. Yeah.
Okay, no problem. Well, you kind of mentioned that as well too, of like trying to get the extremes, and one of the things I really noticed as well too was the amount of kind of references that you kind of have. It's what it says, like tears from your favourite artists as well too. You tried to like capture a lot of the kind of influences and styles. Trying to comment on it a wee bit, I guess, and what you guys were trying to do. Would you kind of say it was kind of right?
I guess that sort of like existential problematics. Solving those started with people asking or thinking that we're sort of like going back to roots. Yeah. And I didn't understand that, because for me roots means our roots, where we actually come from, not as this band that we would have invented the wheel or something like that that we're so good that we can just like steal bits and bobs from ourselves. So we went more back to, let's say, Turbo Negro, Sabbath, Typo Negative, Paradise Lost, Smart Ang Red, all that stuff, and the kind of good old crack a beer open at the rehearsal place and just turn the volume up and jam. And if it doesn't work, then hit the bar. And if it works, we can hit the bar and celebrate for it working. So it was, in that sense, it was like back to the roots approach of how to make rock and roll. But it wasn't like a conscious decision. It was just something that happened mostly due to the fact that our drummer was okay again. So everybody felt rejuvenated and kind of, because we didn't know whether we were able to continue as the same Him, or if the whole band, if we were going to throw it away, with the whatever. But so it was a complex situation. So I think the best way of doing it was to kind of like turn the brain off and just react with our pelvises, or pelvi. I'm not quite sure what the plural is.
You raised a conscious decision now that people have to make while listening to this. Actually, another bit point you raised there as well, because you were mentioning, like, kind of going back to your roots with Paradise Lost and Black Sabbath. But what's really interesting is from then when you were creating the albums to now, then their music has changed quite a lot. They've evolved as bands, they've been like that. So I've just
really complicated.
yeah, like they're evolving themselves too. So like, unless you were kind of taking it from the beginning, when you were like looking towards that music, then were you looking towards the newer stuff? And if so, how do you feel about kind of the current range of metal from like the bands that you took influences from?
Oh, well, that's a philosophical question, I suppose. You know, well, I don't think we like refer like that. Now we're influenced by Black Sabbath's 7th album. You know, that would be kind of, you know, I think it's overall vibe for the band. I don't think that, at least in bands that I really like, I think they pretty much, with minor exceptions, they usually keep up their, you know, spiritual, you know, whatever, you know, attitude that they have, or sound, or overall, you know, vibe that the band has. So, you know, I don't think there's such a big difference, really.
It's not so much about the, you know, sort of like critical speculation. It's more about the heart of the band, you know, whatever the band represents for us, you know, where they're coming from and what they did to us, you know, the spark that they ignited within us to make us want to create our own music. So that's kind of like, that doesn't change whether Aaron grunts or sings. My Dying Bride, I mean, or whether there's violence or whether there's not, you know, and the fact with those bands you mentioned, the cool thing is that they were never afraid to experiment, and when you experiment, at times you fail miserably, but and at times you create, you know, things of beauty, as opposed to trying to do exactly the same all over again. And we haven't necessarily changed as much as they have from their, you know, when those particular bands were born, but the attitude more or less is the same, you know. That's very I think it's very important not to, you know, not to succumb, you know, kind of like, what's would be a good way of saying, not to get stressed out too much about like outside pressure, whether it be pressure of the listeners or pressure from record label or whatever, you know, because at the end of the day we're the ones carrying the burden of the particular album, so we have to be proud of it first, and then I somehow hope that pride, which is a sin, by the way, creates some sort of realness or trueness to the music that people can, or energy that people can absorb, or that people can realize that it's not made by just with computers with dollar signs in your eyes, you know, that it has something genuine in there. But you have to ask somebody else to actually, you know, verify that statement.
Yeah,
it might be all
kind of
wrong.
awkward to, you know, say that some band that you really like and respect, that they made a mistake by making their 7th album different. It would be kind of, I mean, I would never say, maybe I don't like it as much as their 2nd, but, you know, I'm not talking about any particular band.
I'll be very careful about the editing at this point.
No, I honestly mean it.
By you know, I'm joining your group, but failing miserably, you know, it's like some albums don't do as well. They don't translate to people. They might be well received in 10 years time or something like that. A lot of like Paradise Lost albums, when they started doing the electronic stuff, you know, I have a lot of friends who love that way more than the stuff they did before, and then all of a sudden they found the early albums and now they're digging it all and blah 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 blah, and without that band doing the electronic things, they wouldn't be doing what they do now. Same with My Dying Bride, or what was with Type O Negative or whomever. So you have to take chances and take risks and just go with the gut and see where you end up. At times, you know, the critics are gonna hate it and people don't get it, and you know, the songs are too short or too long or whatever. The subject matter is all wrong. But at the end of the day, it's what gets the person to the next level, so to speak. That's a boring term too, but you know what I mean. You know, so it's like you have to write a good bad song to appreciate the good song, and to have like a reflection point, some sort of like to understand where you're at. Otherwise, if you be great all the time, it'd be terrible, or if you'd be terrible all the time, it'd be great.
I'm not sure about that one. I know what you mean. I know what you mean. I'm joking about. No.
Kind of made sense to me. You know, probably.
It did make sense. I was just like, it was terrible to be great and great to be terrible out of context. That would make no sense, but it does make sense. What it's
views here at the barrel lines, the toilet. You know, it's just.
It's a Zen koan.
Oi?
It's a Zen koan.
Oh,
once you figure it out, you become enlightened, like two of us.
Oh, yeah. Yes, everybody, it's Ville Valo from a band called Him from Helsinki, Finland.
And I am Mige from the same band, and you're listening to an elemental paradox.
Indeed you are. Rock made of metal, which is one of the oddest things. It is impossible. But is it really impossible? But is it really, really impossible?
Is it really, really, really impossible? Thank you.